Hey, this is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com. This is Thursday, November the 15th. This will be our price action chart lesson for today. And it was just a trading range today. If you back out, you can see that we had a failed break lower here. And then really all that happened was the range moved a little lower, and you can see we bounced off that. So I would say the range today was really from about 46 to 58, about 8 points maybe. But we started the day right in here, really narrow, really only about 7 or 8 points. So, um, I'm always telling you the best way to trade these kind of ranges is to, sell the resistance and buy the support. And if it breaks below the support on the first try, you got to buy that. That's just going to be a failed break lower. So just keep that in mind, and you can see if you follow those rules today, a couple of them I marked green. We'll talk about those. But for the most part, there was plenty of money to be made on these 3, 4 trades right in here. So, but let's back out where you can see it a little better and talk about them, and we'll go from there. I'm going to try to keep it short today without making this too long. These are fairly obvious type trading days, and they're really they shouldn't be too difficult. I got at least one email that, if what happens is you see the market ranging every day like this, and you get lulled to sleep by ranges, then all of a sudden it will trend like it did yesterday, and you keep buying all the way down or selling all the way up. And then all of a sudden the market trends for, a few days, and then you get whipsawed. You keep buying the lows and selling the highs. So you can't get lulled to sleep by what's going on. You got to be able to quickly determine what kind of day it is. And when we bounced here and then turned down here, and then bounced here again, it was really obvious when we turned down here. But when we bounced here again, you should have been thinking range day all the way and jumping over to range rules until you were proven otherwise. And it looked like a trend was going to start up right here, but it didn't. The range just extended a little bit, and we trended back up. And we overshot the low side, but then we undershot the high side. So it was kind of this measured move you hear me talk about a lot. And I was really surprised it turned down lower here, and that's why I marked this in green. But we'll talk about that when we get there. So let's back out and talk about the first couple of trades here. Really, the first trade of the day was right here, and this one I marked this one in green because it's a little iffy because we are trending down. But if you drew a trend line here, you can see we kind of pulled back and tested the trend line and then turned up. And I probably should have had that trend line on there just to help you see that already. But the biggest thing is we just came off a double bottom, and now you got a higher low. And these are two overlapping bars. But the thing you got to realize here is this one reversed and closed near its high. And there's plenty of room to scalp out. And you got to be thinking, since we're coming off a double bottom, we're probably going to go test the next resistance area. We already tested it here, and we'll probably come back and test that again. And if it holds, then we'll turn down. But if not, we're going to go test this one. And you can see that's exactly what happened. So now you got two legs up, and this is a big overshoot here. And even if you had this right there at that point, but really I started mine right here. And as you see, as the day went along, that's where you got more touches across here. But anyway, even if you had it right there, you got your double top right there. You got a failed break above it, no closes up there. Then then you got two bars in a row. That little overlap way away from the EMA after two legs up, and this is a double top now. I tried to get short with a limit order, didn't get filled, so I just went short right here, one tick below that. And I'm looking for prices to at least come back to this EMA, maybe come back and test this area right in here. But it ended up we went almost straight down to the other side. Any runners were easily safe. Any runners were safe on this too, so you could have ridden this all the way to the top and look to exit when you got this congestion right here, or at least tighten your stop right there, and you would have got out right at the top, or even reverse right there. So two nice trades. Runners were safe on both of them. Good moves on your runners. This one you really had I mean, you could have ridden this all the way to the low fairly easily. No problems there. Because there really were not any corrections all the way down. So it's looking really bearish, but then guess what? Right down here at this double bottom, it just bounces. What I did was when we created these matching lows right here, down here at strong support, I just dropped a limit order in there and it broke below it, filled me, turned up, and so I'm long from right here, and this thing went all the way to the other side almost again, and another easy scalp. Runners were good, and you might have exited right in here, but you got to be thinking we're probably going to test the highs up here. And notice this, I'll show you this. Notice how this high is a little lower than that one, this high is a little lower than that one, and then this high was a little lower than that. And remember that when we get to that point. So that's a clue. And notice that I usually drag my line down to the closes. And normally what will happen is you'll get right back to that point, maybe a tick or so in front of that point, because that's where those break-even stops are. And that's where they come back and take those. I always tell you about how efficient the market is. And that's exactly where this got to. But anyway, another easy scalp. But if you didn't get long down here the way I did, and I don't suggest that most of you try that, there was actually a second entry right here, and it looks like an inside bar, but what it turns out to be is a little bitty doji right down here at the lows. You've already got a bunch of stems now, and look at this high is lower than that one. So a break above that, if you went to a smaller chart, you'd see one leg up, pull back, and that's a second entry long right there. And you ride that all the way to top. And again, there's entries in the middle here that you could have taken coming down and going up, but I always tell you the best trades are at the strong support and resistance, and it gets dicey when you enter in these places, and you'll get tricked sometimes. So, I mean, it really looked like it was going lower here, and you might have got tricked to the short side, and then it ran higher. But there's a couple of different reasons that you want to enter here, and one is, again, that's where I think the high was, right there. And it's failed break higher there, but notice you got one tick up there, and you turn down. It didn't break below that bar. Then you got a little inside bar, and it tried to go higher again, then it turned down. So definitely that's where you want to go short right there. And you know it's a range day now, so you're looking to get short at the highs, and you're looking to get long at the lows. Nice, easy trade. But there's other reasons to enter here. And you might have said, hey, look at all this overlap, but you got that little trap right there. But the thing to remember is we were in this little range here, and we broke out of that and failed too. So it's a failed break out of this. So you got more than one reason to be thinking short here. It's a trading range day. And on trading range day, you just about got to short these highs and buy the lows, and so there it goes. And if it breaks higher like it did here, you just you figure it's going to be a failed breakout. And yeah, it takes nerve to take these trades. I know that, and that's what happens to a lot of people. They just don't have the nerve, and then they finally get the nerve and they buy it like right here, and it goes a little bit lower. But that's why you got to wait on the right. You got to wait on a bar in your direction or some kind of trap or something, and that way you know it's at least trying to turn. And you had a little bar right here, and you might have got trapped on that one, but you really that's not enough bullishness. That's just kind of, prices are just kind of stuck down here with, and you can't see that other bar there, but there's several bars overlapping there. And then it broke lower and turned up. And so look at that bar. That's what these reversal bars look like. Look. Here's one right here. Look what that bar looks like. Look how that reverses with a big stem, closes on its low. That's where you want to get short. This one looks kind of like that. It reverses. There's not a lot of stem, and it's the bars that look like this one and this one. And there's a big bearish bar. That one right there. That's the ones that I really like to see at these reversals because they, they're just almost gimmies. And so watch for those. But you got that little break lower right there. I actually entered on a limit order here, but if you didn't enter on a limit order right here, when this thing broke lower and turned up and closed on its high, you got to go long right there. And no runners on this one. Fairly easy scalp, but no runners. And you didn't know if this was going to turn into a breakout pullback short. But that's why I marked this one green, because you just about have to take this trade right here. But on a range day, sometimes it'll get stuck in here before it goes higher. So I didn't take this trade as much as I wanted to, but if you did take it, I understand why, because it's a second entry short. It's a two-legged pullback. But remember, it's a range day, and you don't want to be getting short at the lows. But finally, you had this break of this trend line down through here, but you got a double top, and look at that big bearish reversal. So that was worth going short right there. You didn't even want to take that one right there because we're still at the lows. And what happened was they trapped all these longs that thought this was going to bounce out of there, and it didn't. But that's why you wait on a good setup. And there's not really a good long setup. You might have gone long right here, but there's so many overlapping bars, and there's no real sign of good bullishness other than that one right there. And now you're getting up here where you could get a breakout pullback short. And so it's better just to sit and wait for something better. And by waiting, you get a trap here, a double top, and a big bearish reversal bar, and then you go. And if you took that one right there, as long as you kept your stop above the signal bar, you were good to go. It came close, but even if it was one tick higher than that, you survived that. So, but this was the really good setup right here. It broke higher first turn and went out the low side. You could have actually probably gotten short there, but it's better to wait to make sure this bar didn't close back up in here on the high side or something. And then what it was, they had all these trapped longs, and they ran their stops on down here. And it's possible you might have gotten long right here, but again, it's not it's better to wait on a second entry when you've got prices moving and they break below a strong kind of support area like that. The second time, now we broke below right here, and then it became a breakout pullback short. So you don't know that you won't get another leg down all the way down like that. So it's better to wait on a second entry, and then you got one right here. And I probably should have made this one green, but I didn't. Notice that we hadn't come back and tested this breakout area right here. You got to figure that's going to happen. Really what this turns out is just another failed break below the lows, and you should have been moving this down like so. And you can see it came right up and tested that and then turned back down. But again, it's been a range day, so I don't like the shorts down here. I'm more looking for longs. I'm thinking long. You got to be ready to take a short if a good one comes. But these are just not really good shorts right here. Notice how these bars are overlapping, and notice how they don't look like this bar or where's, this bar, or some of these reversal type bars. You want to kind of see those type. There's one to the upside, these bars don't look like that, and by the time you do get some red in here, it's overlapping, and it's right at the pullback area. Anything can happen, so it's better. And if you'd have taken that short, you see it would have worked, but it's just not a really good setup down here at this strong support area. So better to wait and see if you can't get a trap, and then look what happens. You get a trap right here. You get these overlapping matching bars. We hadn't got back to the EMA yet. It ticks one tick lower and turns up. You can go long right there. Easy scalp. You didn't get any more than that, but then you get another chance to enter right here. Again, you got these overlapping matching lows. I dropped a limit order there and got long. But, once you get this reversal bar here, that's pretty good. You get to go long. You see it hesitated a minute there, but it broke on the free and went higher. And we're getting back above the support area again. And now you've got, but you got two legs up, but this is not a good short because this is, again, we're too close on a range day. We're too close in here to all this support. So it's better just to skip these trades and see if you don't get a trap. And then guess what happens? You go into all this overlap. It breaks out the high side. It fails. It comes back, and it goes right out the low. And I guarantee there were a lot of people that got short right there out of all that congestion. But guess what it does? It breaks out that side and fails. It snaps back. And you're kind of looking for a reason to get long down here anyway. And look at that reversal bar. When a bar goes that low and then turns and closes on its very high, that's a bullish sign. That's, it's rejecting prices down here now. You go long right there. Easy scalp. No runners on this one. Another easy scalp, but you get another chance to get long right here. This time your runner would have survived, and you could have ridden this all the way to the highs. And that leads us into our last trade of the day, which is right around 1 o'clock. It's not worth entering all this stuff again. There is a short right here. This is really a two-legged pullback, but it's so close to 2 o'clock. If you took that, good trade. You should have been looking for another leg down anyway, and for prices to come back down. And your lows are actually down here now. So you wouldn't have had that line back up there when you were, you're looking at all these longs. And you would have had this trend line right here too off those first couple of swings right there. And notice that nothing could close below that, and then we're bouncing off of. That was another reason to like that long right there. But these were, sometimes it takes a couple of tries to get going here before it finally gets going. So take what it gives you, and if it gives you another entry, don't hang on in case it does go lower. Get what it'll give you, and then just keep trying until you get in there and get one going. And all of these were good for a scalp. Even if you didn't get anything else out of them, they were good for a scalp. And notice, too, even if you'd gone short here, they still worked. But, again, you got to be thinking longs down here on a range day, especially since you got a trend line here and you've already had a break and a move to a new low. That's your other clue that, we're probably not going any lower than that. Now, this is a reversal pattern with a retest of it, and that's why that blasted out of there, because they got so many people lined up short here, and when it reversed, they all had to exit and it blast higher. Now, let me talk about this trade. This one's a little iffy because we didn't get back. Here's your closes up here, but you did have this high right here, and you're always going to the next highs. And the fact that you got a double top right here, and this kind of, you can see we had resistance there before. And the fact that we got that there and we're getting so far away from the EMA, I wanted to drop a limit order right here, and I almost did, and I'm glad I didn't, because we just weren't that far away from the EMA here. Notice that, even though we haven't come back from the EMA a while, we're moving up, and we're not to the highs yet. But when you got way up here and you still hadn't come back from the EMA and you got this kind of reversal bar, it was worth taking that trade. I marked it in green because it's questionable because we didn't get back to those highs again that are across there, which I think are right there. But you got to remember we did overshoot the lows down here. And so a lot of times, and each one of these highs has been lower. So that if you're paying attention to that, you would be thinking, hey, it doesn't surprise me that we didn't quite get back as high. The market's getting a little weaker each time. And so you got to think about that. And when you get that reversal bar and you got some overlap and it breaks higher and turns straight down and closes almost on its low, this far away from the EMA, it's worth taking, even if you just try to get in and, if it hesitates, if it breaks lower here and ticks you in the trade and turns up, you can always say, I can get out or take a tick loss or whatever, but it didn't. It just it raced on down. You got to be thinking we're coming back to test this, test the EMA. And also you should have, here's another thing too, you should have drawn your trend channel line, and you see that we're kind of riding that line up through there, and that's a really, you should have had it right there. And that's a big overshoot, and that's another reason to take that trade. There's multiple reasons there, and that's really why I like this one. And I almost got sucked into this trade, But I said, hey, you know what? We're just not quite there yet. This thing could push on through, and you weren't, I wasn't sure if this wasn't the channel out here, and it might have been, but either way, you still got an overshoot. So, but it was worth taking this time. And if you took one of these, and notice all the overlap right there. By the time it broke, you had 3 overlapping bars. That's congestion, and if it breaks out this side, it could snap back. So, and we weren't yet up here. We weren't even real close to the highs yet, so we weren't even close to these highs yet. So just, but that's why I marked it in green, because it's iffy. And, but it's one of those, it's aggressive entry, but if you look at all the clues, it's probably worth taking, so I marked it in green, because I bet you there's some of you that saw it and probably took it and profited from it. And if I don't mark it, you're asking me why not. So I try to show it all, including the ones like this that failed. And I almost got suckered in on this one myself, but you got to remember on a range day, even if it's going lower there, it's not worth risking it, because this is what happens, and you see it did go lower, but they ran all the stops first and then let it go lower. So just keep that in mind for range days. Follow the range day rules and don't break them, even if you're afraid you're going to miss a trade, because it'll come back to haunt you most of the times if you do. If you don't take this trade right here, it runs down like this one right here. If you do take it, it does exactly what it did. It comes down, it breaks a little lower, traps people, and snaps back. And you actually could have gone long right here, because there's it's a failed second entry short. So if you did go long right there, I meant to talk about that too. That's okay, and you can see it. It was an easy scalp. It was just enough for a scalp, and it worked. So that was okay to go long right there. I didn't take it myself. Because I was too busy watching this and thinking short and wanting to go short, but I'm just glad I didn't, because it would have come back to haunt me. But something to think about there. But we're into 22 minutes. I said I was going to keep it short today. So I'm going to wrap it up. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com. Hope you had a good trading day today, and if not, a better one tomorrow. We'll see you next time.